Making stuff and jacked up. Making stuff and jacked up.
So much.
Making stuff and jacked up. Making stuff and jacked up.
Let it go. You say, get out of the way. Get
Trust me.
You're listening to Meadows and Makers podcast
with Jack Dub and making stuff. Peace.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another week of the Meadows and Makers podcast, brought to you here on the MSP Waves. Thank you for riding the waves today. This interactive social media broadcasting network that we got going on here in the Steamiverse. And this is a show where I try to bring on some inspirational folks that are into the, just creating things and trying to live a more self-sufficient lifestyle and move in a positive direction every day. So I try to bring on people that are in that kind of alignment and some interesting folks from all over the Steamiverse to share with you guys and to interact here on this program. So big shout out to everybody that joined this morning. We got Breeze. We got, if I butcher your name, I'm sorry. Bree Arch, Orliv. We got Peachy Mod. We got Rondon. We got Tainted Blood. Thank you guys for showing up here today. So just a disclaimer up front here is that the views and opinions that are expressed on this show are my own and those of my guests. So if you guys have any feedback or input, complaints, anything like that, please send them my way. And they do not reflect on the MSP Waves and what they got going on here. So leave them out of it. Just come at me. All right. So just a little thing that I like to do for this show is a little mantra. And the mantra that I like to spread is I will be an inextinguishable possibilities for myself and others. And saying that, I'd like to get you guys, introduce you guys to today's guest, Freedom Point, also known as the Yeti on Steemit, or his nickname is the Yeti. But this guy's been around on Steam for a long time. If you guys aren't familiar with him yet, but he's a returning guest to the show. This time we're going to really get into it and some of the projects he's working on. Specifically, they are running a project called Inner Blocks, and it is a community that is focused on self-reliance and wellness. And so we're going to get into that today, a a little bit about what inspired him to create this project, and then kind of get into his story a little bit more. So, without further ado, welcome, Freedom Point. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm great. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, fantastic, sir. You are sounding
So
crystal clear and coming
I
in,
shared
and the goose is hanging high.
I shared a picture there, but it didn't load.
Okay.
Am I able to share pictures there in the chat?
Yeah, go for it. Anything that you want to throw in there, feel free to. I just dropped the link for the Interblocks website, which is your guys' front end to Steam it, and from what I understand. And yeah, I just wanted to start off with maybe you could tell people a little bit about yourself if they're not familiar, and then maybe a little bit about what your project, the Interblocks, is all about.
Hey, all right. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's funny, talking about the Yeti, and I like to tell people how that came about. It actually came about from my father-in-law, because I don't know, my father-in-law is probably 5'9", 5'10",
Okay.
and he can only really kind of grow a goatee, most of a goatee. And I'm 6'5", and I have beard for days,
Yeah.
and so he started referring to me as the Yeti, and it stuck. So next thing you know, my wife's referring to me as the Yeti, my kids, my other relatives, and it really fits, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
especially in the middle of winter time, when the beard's on. So that's kind of funny. Well, I'm Freedom Point. I joined Steam It back in November of 2017, so we're quickly coming on 2 years. And my wife Stacy D is at Freedom to Write, and we joined this thing together as a growing adventure to share more about our homestead. And from there, it just took off like wildfire. So I was doing a One Yeti's Perspective, which was a daily blog, and she was writing, doing free writes, and she's got amazing stories out on the blockchain. And we were actually approached about starting a project that was homestead centric, and we got invited to Nashville, Tennessee to meet with some players, you know what I mean? Some real players in the game, to meet some high level operators, if you will. And we got a glimpse behind the curtain. And after that, we just got a real taste for community, a taste for the game, you know what I mean? A little bit, I don't know, somebody might even call it the hustle, but I just call it the unseen, because there's so much happening on the blockchain that people just on average don't see,
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
so we joined this community. We got it going, and it was going real strong, and it just got to a point. It was a lot of time, effort, and energy, and the business relationship behind the scenes fell apart. So Stacey D and I had to walk away from the project, but we still had a passion in our heart for people, for homesteading, for self-reliance, for wellness. And so we knew that we loved the homesteading concept, but there was so much more to that, right? So there's more to who we are than just homesteaders. Like we were homesteaders, but we love yoga, we love prayer, we love meditation, we love heavy metal music or gangster rap or eating vegan. So yeah, right there, a vegan homesteader is like an oxymoron, and people couldn't wrap their head around it. And so we knew right then that we were onto something, just showing that we have many different things that make us who we are.
Yeah.
So the idea behind Inner Blocks is literally, there's a lot that goes into the name Inner Blocks that many might not even think about. We refer to, imagine your Legos, right? You're built out of Legos, all the many blocks that actually build you to become who you are. And then you have the inner blocks that build you up. You have inner blocks when it comes to your energy and meditation, like inner blockages. You have an inner blocks that it's actually like on the blockchain. So it's a pretty deep name, and the whole idea is to just showcase the many sides of many people. You know what I mean? And I think that we lose focus on that, especially when you start creating content and you get a fat upvote for one aspect of your personality. Well, then you just start pandering to that one aspect, and every post is that same thing because you're trying to get that fat upvote again without actually just creating what you want. You know what I mean? So we want people to be free to just create what they want, and we want to support that. So
Okay.
Moving forward, what we're really looking to do is to grow and to support real life experience. So if you can imagine hashtag Interblocks equals experience. Like I'm looking out on the lake right now and there's a lady kayaking. If she was to get off there and share a picture or share a comment or something about her experience kayaking, that's Interblocks. There's people over here on stage performing music, that's Interblocks. There's people riding bikes, that's Interblocks. And so it just applies to someone having an experience. So,
Okay.
you know, not just posts about like crypto, but if you're going to write about crypto, write about your experience while trading crypto or gaining crypto, not just here's crypto facts, or don't just dump information, but dump your experience, you know? And so
Okay.
we're really reaching out broad around the world to support many content creators to really diversify from many countries, many languages, and many different perspectives. So
Okay.
really, man, Interblocks equals living your best life. That's
Okay.
that's where we're going.
Okay, yeah, that's one of the things that I kind of see with you guys, and looking in a lot of your past content is that you're really a guy that talks a lot about personal growth and getting into a lot of those aspects with, and you're into a lot of different things, man, and it's like you know, what kind of brought you down that path yourself? Like, what brought you down the spiritual and personal growth kind of direction? You guys do some fascinating things. You guys are take big leaps and went on a crazy journey all across the states and everything.
You mean are you asking just what made me jump clean off the rails?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people get, you know, I know a little bit about your background. You were working in the food industry at one point in time. What kind of took you from that thing, from that into the homesteading lifestyle and doing all that kind of stuff? Was there a specific moment that happened?
Yes, there was a couple actually. When I was 17, okay, I got born again. I'm a born again believer in Jesus Christ, right? So I say I'm a devotee of Jesus. People are like, "You're a Christian?" I'm like, "Not so much, but I'm a devotee of Christ." There is a clear difference, man. You take all that churchianity, you strip all that churchianity out, you backfill it with Jesus and all the information you can get, and then you turn it up to 11. It's a whole different lifestyle. Anyway,
Right on.
born again when I was 15. And when I was 17, my youth pastor, he's like, I see something in you. I want to share something with you. Took me to a church that was like 30 minutes away, where that was the first time I experienced what they would call the baptism of the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Spirit moving in such a way that this cat, long story short, he just kind of touched my hands and the back of my legs got hot and I fell down. I was 17, man. I was 6'4", 260.
Yeah.
And I just fell down. You know what I mean? What just made me fall down? So at that point, I knew there was something more. That happened out of my control. I knew there was something more. So that pushed me from that point. That pushed me down a road of not just accepting this, what I hear, but really seeking what I can't see. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And so that continued to play out over the years with different aspects, going to different churches, being able, like, I could just see right through the bull crap. I mean, we'd be sitting there in the pew or something, and somebody's up there and they're teaching something. I'm like, that's wrong, honey. Get the kids. We're leaving. And we'd stand up right in the middle of a service and just walk out. And you know, I talk about this all the time. Now I'm 6'5", 270. I'm the Yeti. So when I stand up and walk out of a room, it's not like I snuck out. You know what I mean? And so it's like I was making a point. Like, this is not right. They're teaching against the Word of God. They're teaching against everything. Whatever they're teaching is not right. We got to go.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we'd see just right through that crap and continued seeking exposure, found a great church where we were actually able to learn more about what we were experiencing and why we were experiencing it, and working out, really fleshing out these ideas of giftings and things, kind of the things we were talking about before, energy, moving, and got some real insight when it comes to when you pray what you're listening for, you know. And a lot of people, they, you know, when you say, well, God told me this or God told me that, they just look at you and want to mock immediately. And they're like, oh, so you heard God speak to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you condescending butthole. No, but God spoke to me still. And you're like, and they can't comprehend that, but they just want to condescend. So over time, I was working at a big giant food distribution center um, when we were in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I had 50 guys under me moving up the corporate ladder, doing all that. And honestly, we were praying through what to do. We had just, well, not just, but we had just bought a house like a year prior to the events I'm talking about. And we got this big farmhouse on 2 acres just outside of town. And we were starting to get a real itch for it. We got a couple of chickens, started a big garden, and we knew that that was awesome, but the mortgage payment was not awesome.
Right.
And we were praying, and we felt the Lord lead us just clean away from that job. So I felt that on a Sunday and went in Monday morning and put in my 2 weeks notice, just like that. And stepped right out of that corporate world completely, or that business world. And so I started my own small business, just doing handyman work. I told my wife, I said, I want to wear boots, drive a truck, drink coffee, and do stuff.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. And then bought me a truck, and,
Wow.
and so I started going. And about a year later, just doing my own thing, or our own thing, we started praying again because we felt our time there in Kenosha was coming to an end. And so we just prayed through it over and over and over. And we found and saw several different states, different opportunities, land prices, where your family lives, whether you want to go near them or away from them. And we landed in southern Missouri because it really fit everything that we were looking for. And we started homesteading. We didn't know crap about it. I had an idea of how to build stuff, and I'm a very confident person.
Yeah.
I learned everything I could from books and YouTube, and then I built a house. And
Wow.
I built a house, just my wife and I think the neighbor helped once, but I mean, I did it with a manual saw, a hammer and nails. All my power equipment was in my storage unit. I couldn't get to it. So we built our own house, built a barn, built a chicken coop, a 40 by 60 deep mulch garden. We ended up raising chickens and raising rabbits, and I ended up making custom knives. And I mean, the rest is that pretty much catches us up to where we're at. And
Yeah.
and while we were on the homestead, I knew that there was always more, and I felt God leading me more towards learn to meditate. I'm like, God, I don't know crap about meditation. And so next thing you know, man, doors started being open to me, and next thing you know, I'm seeing stuff about meditation everywhere. And so I learned how to meditate. And it was just simple as that. I don't know what I'm doing, and God made a way for me to learn what I was doing.
That's very, and I share kind of a similar thing with that, man. Like, kind of a similar thing. That's one of the things that I kind of always held growing up was just like, I just want to find the path that I'm supposed to go down, and something was calling for me to go and do something like the homestead thing and the building the solar trailer and all that kind of stuff. Was like something was just calling me to do that. And I totally relate to what you got going on. It's just hitting me a little bit. It's just hitting me now, I guess.
Yeah, man, it's current, it's flow and resistance. You know what I mean? It's like when you can feel that flow, you can either be a part of it or you end up fighting it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt, man, because there was like, while I was at the corporate gig, it was just like constantly fighting against something. And it just wasn't, it just didn't feel like that was the right thing.
Oh, for sure, man. And, that's really that flow. And I found that flow down in the woods. I took a chair and I was sitting it was a different time. I was just sitting down in the woods under a big pine tree, and I started meditating, and I just turned my mind off, and then I just I was all done, and I looked at the watch, and it was an hour and a half. And, not that there was some tremendous download, but there was like a major clarity, because when people talk about, hearing God, even when people talk about like, oh, I want to hear God, well, everybody refers to God as being that still small voice.
Yeah.
Well, if that still small voice is in your head, if you're going to hear a still small voice or a thought, you have to get all the rest of the crap out of there.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that people don't really grasp is that our thoughts are just us regurgitating information and data that we've taken in from our eyes and our ears. So if you are sitting there and you are having thoughts, all you're doing is recapping and replaying crap that you've consumed. It's when you can stop those thoughts that new stuff comes in. And that's the amazing
that's
stuff.
a cool explanation, and it's something that's not easy to attain, is emptying your mind. Like truly
That's for sure.
emptying the mind is no small task, because you always have that. The mind is always seeking to create these noises inside, and to you're constantly have something that's trying, the ego, your personality, everything is just trying to create
Be in
something.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be in control. And I have a very turbulent mind. So there's always something happening, and it's not surface level. Like my thoughts are like deep, complex games of chess with the universe. Like
Yeah.
I don't just have like the small stuff. So for me to shut that off, that's a practice. That's how it turns into a journey, a lifelong journey. And that's why when people ask me, like when they talk about the difference between beliefs and knowing something and seeking something, well, if you're seeking something, you're constantly putting effort into seeking whatever it is that you're seeking. But as soon as you find it, you stop.
Yeah.
I mean, you just stop. So if you're stopped in your faith and your belief, then you're not going to be able to actually entertain anything deeper than where you're at. It's like you have to be open to seek. So that's really what got things going. And so the homestead was incredible, and it was prayer that got us all into that.
Yeah.
And we just started using resources that we had. I've considered my ability to talk to strangers a resource. So we met a bunch of people, and we got to know people, we got involved with people, we got involved with the community, and we got involved with the community of homesteaders. And we were there for nearly 5 years on the homestead in the woods, and a similar scenario came up, and I felt the Lord put it on me that I need to dump that property and hit the road.
That is something, man. Because you guys had built something pretty significant there, huh?
Oh, for sure, with your own blood, sweat, and tears, man. Your own design. I knew it was built like a rock, man. I built this thing with 2x6 studs, R19 insulation, all modern wiring. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I knew I had that same feeling that our time there was done. So whenever you're trying to leave something, there's always a matter of what do we do with the stuff that we have. And we ended up selling / giving the property to a guy from Eugene, Oregon, who moved out there to start a whole life. So he pretty much had a turnkey homestead, and we hit the road.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so that takes a lot of courage to step out on a totally new journey, not knowing what's going to happen next.
Once you start down the path of being obedient, and you start to see like, hey, when I'm obedient, like whatever I give is given back to me tenfold. When you get in that process of, it's freely, I've been given, so freely give. Once you realize that, like, man, it's just money and it's just stuff. And,
right.
This came to me through certain efforts, and now this is going. And so, our business deal didn't work out the way that me, the human, wanted it to. You know what I mean? Because I was all like, yeah, let's make some money. Let's do a little equity. We got some value in it, man. And like, we actually sold it. I don't know. Like, we did the equivalent of selling it for bare land. So like, we didn't recover anything. We didn't make any money. If you can imagine, the whole house is there, and this person got it for the price that we paid for the bare land when we bought it 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because how is this person going to start their life? How are they going to start their adventure? If I have something that was going to help them, man, that's what I did. And that's not a matter of like, when people talk about, oh, don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing. Like, I'm not even talking about like going out being charitable and giving and that stuff. I'm just talking about a general perspective. If we never talk about it, then people won't ever feel that urge themselves. You know what I mean? So,
right.
And then we determined that it's just stuff, and we gave away stuff, we sold stuff, we trashed and burned stuff, and then we hit the road, man. Became full-time nomads.
Yeah.
Here we are. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that you're picking up a ton of more skills and all along the way here and doing this new journey. And one of the things that I think, and maybe well, this is probably a good question for you. That what do you think is true wealth? What is true wealth?
Huh. That's pretty deep.
Yeah,
When you're talking about wealth and value,
yeah,
like most people get those confused. Like so people assume that wealth is value. And so when you're talking about something like that, then the definition of value really is only how much someone's willing to give you for something. So if you think about your stuff and if you look at all the stuff in your world, and if its only value is how much someone else will give you for it, then there's not really any value, right? Because if I think something's awesome, you think it sucks, and you give me way less than I need for it, then clearly it didn't have the value I thought. So when you're talking about wealth for me is not a safe full of money and a bank full of money. You know what I mean? Wealth for me is health, ability, and adventure. It's
yeah,
family, it's an experience. Because like like when we were just on the road, we had our Suburban and we had a 4x8 utility trailer, and we were on the road, and like Stacy D and the kids would run into some thrift store, and I'd just like open up the trailer and start frying some potatoes right there in the parking lot. Like I mean, that to me, that's wealth, that's adventure, that's experience. So I
yeah,
think that opportunity as well, and I think that we squander our wealth. You know what I mean? Because you talk about the world is divided between those who have and those who don't have. You know what I mean? And people think that it's always about money, but really think about opportunity. Those who have opportunity and those that don't, and then those who make their opportunity. And we're
yeah,
humans. Yeah, we're humans, right? So we can do anything we want, right? Like at any point, you could just like throw two fingers in the air, right? Because a peace sign, really, but two fingers in the air and turn this radio show off, and you guys all pack up in your friggin' trailer and you roll out. We never hear from you again. That's your choice. You know what I mean? And people don't understand that we have that choice, and they get so nervous about food, about money, about insurance, about car insurance. They get so nervous about all the things that everyone says that we need to have, and then they forget the fact that we don't need to have anything and that we can do whatever we want. And that to me is wealth. When you find that you are free and that you have the opportunity to do whatever you want to do, I mean, but outside of harming other people, you know what I mean? That to
right.
me, that's wealth.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that in my life, in my journey, I found that the things that I consider wealth is not money. It's not things. It's it's the skills. It's the relationships, and it's the time. Your time is wealth. Time to be
Oh,
able to
for
spend
sure.
it how you choose, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, I really love that aspect that you're talking about. It was something that we were talking about a little bit before the show. Was that even getting into these kind of businesses and the whole sphere of cryptocurrency is that kind of dichotomy a little bit between you know trying to create the business side of things and then keeping everything open for everybody through open source engineering, open source software development, things like that, and decentralization. And then what's that, at some point maybe it's about a mixture of both of those things, of
Oh,
a
for
little bit
sure.
a little bit of the capital, and then being able to use that to move on to new innovations and new ideas and new adventures.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing now. And it's so tricky because what we talked a little bit about before the show was a lot of people don't understand. Like, there's a lot of front ends, and these front ends that are running tokens and things, like they are real life, as in they're going to make money and they're going to have to do something with this money. Like somebody's ultimately responsible for keeping the lights on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so we've run into a lot that there's people that have made very selfish decisions, right? So when we tell people we're making tokens, and then they're like, "Oh, just align your pockets," it's like, well, thank you. You don't even know me. And how do you know I don't want to line your pocket? You know what I mean? And like people, like
Yeah.
you get automatically lumped into what somebody else has already done. So like when you're in this kind of a space and you're like, yes, I'm doing something for the first time, it turns out you're never actually doing something for the first time, because everyone will have a story of how someone burned them in some way, in a similar fashion to whatever you're doing. So it's like you're never really doing something for the first time because everyone already has an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's an interesting era that we're coming into with these new everybody can have a front end, everybody can have a token kind of thing now. Now with with inner blocks, are you guys going to kind of focus on maybe creating your own token when the SMTs come forth? Are you looking at maybe creating a token through the Steam Engine platform? Is there anything about that you're looking at with this project?
Yes. Okay, so the main answer is yes to a token, having a token.
Okay.
And then the idea is, okay, so what we're focused on now is actual just development. We have Jason Boo as our head developer, who just took on 2 other developers to help them with our project, or help them with our project. And so there's 3 developers that are building something from the ground up, and we're building a foundation. So what we want is a strong foundation, and then they're going to build up the site and the dApp using whatever tech that they have, and then they're going to make it have all the features that we can possibly think of. We've reached out to the community from day one saying, hey, what would you guys like to see? And so we're building this project with a strong foundation so that it doesn't just fall apart if something else falls apart. You know what I'm saying? So that it can actually stand up on its own and we can build a use case. So
Okay.
we're working on the front end is going to be it's a content hosting site, just like a Steemit, just like a Palnet, where you can see your posts there, sort by tags. And we're adding depth to that as far as how the wallet functions and the ability to see tokens. And then we're adding depth as far as this next update here will be August 18th. We're going to have a chat feed so that people will be able to actually chat on the dApp, because what we're doing is we're creating a quote one-stop shop. I want people to be able. I say it's Stacey D and I split. We're 100%. So Stacey D is very much involved, and because I'm a mouth, people keep forgetting that Stacey D is 50% of it. So, so we want to create a one-stop shop, and the way this is ultimately going to go, and I'm not sure how many people can actually see out beyond right now, but what's happening are we're building out this dApp, right? So this front end that's on the Steem blockchain. So if you can imagine the blockchain is like the brain, and the front end works like the face or the mask on that. So everybody has their own idea of what that mask is going to look like and how it's going to function. Then they're going to get other people, new users, to come through their front end to access the Steem blockchain. So in the long term, if you have a strong foundation and you start marketing it, with time, growth comes, and eventually, with all these different front ends, no one's even going to know what a Steemit is. You know what I mean? The Steemit.com. They're not even going to know unless that's how they originally found it. You know what I mean? People that come through Interblocks may not even know what a Palnet is. People that come in Palnet might not even know what an Interblocks or Steemit is, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And so we get to the point where the world at large, like out here, is only going to know the blockchain from what they're finding. So it's like, it's me out here talking to people, hey, come check out interblocks.com, share some content, get rewarded with some cryptocurrency, have a good time. That's what they're going to know of the Steem blockchain. They're not going to know about whale wars. They're not going to know about all the petty, bickering and fighting and downvoting, all that bull crap. They're not going to know about Steemit Inc.'s shady past and all the things that they do with their token. They're not going to know any of that stuff. And right now, we're functioning like a pond that has lost most of its water, so all the fish are right on top of each other, rubbing against each other. We're bumping elbows. Every project is involved with every project, and every project is sharing the same user base. And so everyone, it has these amazing opinions and ideas like, well, so-and-so is doing this better, and this is better. You should do it like them. And, so everybody's involved. But, man, as soon as the new users come, there's none of that's going to be there, because you're developing out your vision, and that's what people are coming for. You know what I mean? So even
Yeah.
in Discord, people are going to find their own way, and they're going to find the front end that they want. And a lot of these Discords are just going to get quiet because people are just doing their own thing. And I believe that we're going to see that, and all these tokens are going to be built on the Steam blockchain, and then those tokens are going to have their own inherent value based off of their own use case. So we're working on the use case in the sense of the rewards through the dApp. You know, there'll be a use case. We're working on marketplaces and ways to utilize it. And so it could be Interblocks, let's call it swag. Interblocks swag, you know, it could be hats and shirts and aprons and car stickers. You know, maybe something that people can use their Interblocks tokens to actually purchase real life stuff. We're looking into stuff like Steam Silver Gold, as in how do you back a token? How do you actually have a use case? We have some people out of Spain that approach us about seed money, but we're not actually taking on investors because we're not ready to have someone try to, you know, tell us how they want the project to go, you know. And
Okay.
so we're thinking about ways to incorporate. There's a project that wants to run parallel with Interblocks and utilize us as their main front end. You know what I mean? So there's like other ways that we're trying to establish a stronger use case. Okay.
Yeah.
So then as far as the token goes, we want to. I believe that Stacey and I were just talking about this, and it's kind of hard to say just out loud, but I think we're just going to wait for SMTs. You know, because people often, once you make a definitive decision, you know, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna hold you to this." So you know, if you don't hold to this, you're a freaking liar. So anyway, we're
Yeah.
talking about holding to an SMT. There's a lot of information when it comes to Steam Engine tokens and these tokens that are floating around. You know, it's a bunch of tokens that are only held up by Steam. So, I mean, they're only held up by Steam. They're on a side chain. Steam Engine doesn't have a transparent ledger. You don't know about the stability or the security of all of these Scott tokens. They could do something shady. You would never know it. Then all of a sudden the tokens are worth nothing and they're gone. You know, like, so there's like security issues. You know what I mean? They've forked Steam, and now they're running a quote side chain, which is pretty much a fork, and now they're just kind of doing their own thing, you know, which is great because I love innovation and development, but I just don't think it's going to be for us. So I think we're going to wait for an SMT that's tied right to the mother token, and then go from there.
Well, Rondon says it's not true at all. That the way that Steam Engines is probably works. There might be a different thing to that, but you guys are holding out onto look to the SMTs on the main chain of Steam it then.
So I'm going back here, like I'm just reading some of these as I'm going through. Like I see this.
Rondon's
I think
saying
it would be
everything is public and publicly posted on the blockchain. It's running in parallel to Steam from what I understand.
Right. So I'm reading Cookie Minion back here. I think it would be fair of you to say that there are already one-stop shops. Sure, man. I didn't say there wasn't. I'm just saying that's what we're looking to do is a one-stop shop. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, you know, there's nothing definitive. You know, when people are like, "Oh, well, you're making this product," like we've been down this road before because people were getting upset and they were saying that we were acting like everything we were doing wasn't already done before. And I mean, just to be clear, right here on the radio is like we've never said that what we're doing has never been done before. We just said that this is how we are packaging our, if that makes sense. So then I will look into Scott Token and Steam Engine more. I just haven't. I don't know. See, it's a real sticky situation. See, I already set it out here, and because we're talking about it on a radio show, people have this information and what I said, and it might actually be a negative experience for the entire Interblocks now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess that's that's life when you go on a talk show and talk about a project. You have to be subject to everybody else's opinions.
Yeah, it's just I see a similar vision to what you're talking about on as far as all the front ends go is exactly what you're saying. You know, that if somebody could build a front end that is very compelling, and then make it super easy for somebody to come on board, and then that way, everybody creating these new front ends, these new things that interact with the main, either interact with the main chain, or if SFTs are introduced, are part of the main chain or whatever, that it'll be almost seamless. It'll be like, one email and one password, and then you can choose, you'll have a wallet capability in there that you can figure out at some point. But you'll be interacting with this thing and earning tokens, but it'll be a lot easier for people, instead of, kind of the complicated way that it's set up now. Inertia, you missed the drama. No, no, but I agree with you on how this on how the front ends is, and the vision of that, and where it could go. And I think everybody that's got their own little project is developing, is trying to get as much information as they can, and trying to build the best front end that they can for the best user experience, which is something that's pretty lacking on the main front end of Steemit.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, there's a whole lot going on now, and it's like, you can get these packages, you get your front end, you get your token, that's great. You've got a use case for it. And I think that it's all about the long game. And I think that, I don't know, I've been in a lot of conversations with people that think that all of the front ends and things are built to like cater to users now. And I think that the idea is you can't cater to the users now. You have to think broad, and you have to think long term of who's going to be the actual user of your front end. You know what I mean? Say you have a community and you have a couple hundred, couple thousand people join your Discord, okay? Well, how many of those people actually would prefer your front end? And you have so many different projects right now that people can just pick whichever one they want, and that's the direction they go. So long term, you can't focus on building your project out just for the current user base. If the current users enjoy it, hey, that's a perk. They'll talk kindly about it, but does it really affect your, quote, long-term success? Do people's opinions now really affect your business's success long-term? And I don't think so. And I think that people might view success based off of how many current users jump on and just start getting the tokens and staking tokens, and that's what they might call success. And I don't think that that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think there's just there's a lot of ways you can take it, and in my opinion, there's some really cool projects out there that are making it simpler for you to accept a cryptocurrency, but you don't need to get too complicated with the signups and everything. One of them is called Float .app that I just looked into. But the way theirs works is you just have one email, you have one password, and then you can enable rewards settings on there. And it kind of works similar to Patreon, except you have a cryptocurrency that you can accept as a donation option. So maybe that's a possibility on a front end. And somebody, one of the people that are developing these different front ends, then somebody will take that idea and roll with it and see what happens and see if it works out well.
Oh yeah, man. You have tipping, you have peer-to-peer, you've got the algorithms with the inflation and the 50-50 splits. I mean, there's like so many options on how to pass the token around. I mean, really the idea is just getting people to use it. You know what I mean? Because if you have a token that no one's using and there's no way to use it, then how are you going to establish any sort of value?
Right. So sounds like we got some sound issues right now for some reason. Guys, I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. So maybe hang tight, and we'll still keep rolling. But somebody please let me know if it's just the Discord. If you guys can hear me in the Discord, please let me know if you can hear, and if some people are saying we're having some issues on mspwaves.com.
Yeah, everything's down right now, and
Okay.
I need you to stop the stream. You can keep on recording, just keep on doing your show if you want.
Okay.
Maybe do some, but yeah.
Okay, stop the stream, and then I'll kick it back on whenever the availability is there.
Yeah, I got to reset the server thing that you stream to, because it's you know,
Okay.
whenever you get disconnected without stopping the stream, it hangs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta,
Okay.
and I can't stream, so MSP Waves it can't go up. So 1 second, just tell me when you stop streaming.
All right, I'm doing it right now. So, sorry about this, guys. We got a little bit of technical difficulties here. But we're gonna keep on rolling through this, and got my recording going. So yeah, okay. So yeah, we're talking about the token, and you guys are still kind of working out like some different use cases for your token, like. Uh-oh.
Oh, are you there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So we're still working through the use case for it, and it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, just building the project from the ground up. It's a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where, like I was saying before, we try not to compare it to anybody. It's one of those things where once you start comparing yourself to somebody, then you're just going to get in your own head and you're going to get discouraged. You know what I mean? Because if you're a full-time developer or not a full-time developer and you're comparing yourself to someone that is a full-time developer, then you constantly look like you're behind, like you're not getting stuff out quick enough. So it's about just putting it together. It's about, like I said, building a strong foundation and drumming up the interest of the people that want to be there. And I think that one of the hardest parts is that you just have to really wrap your head around the idea of, hey man, not everyone wants to be there, and it's cool that they're not. Like when people come in and they're like I told you, like getting ripped up the other day, man, and like people laid into me a couple of different times. It's like they had the option to just leave the server, but they didn't want to just leave the server. They wanted to make their exact opinions known about me and my character and how crappy I am, and then they leave. You know what I mean? And so it's like, in all of this, it's like, if we spent all of our time worried about other people's opinions, you wouldn't get crap done. Nothing would get done. If you just spent all your time building up something, just constantly concerned about what people around you might think, well, then you may not be able to change the world. Because you're not going to do anything spectacular because you're just scared.
Yeah, I've there is I think there's a saying that if you're not making somebody mad, you're probably not doing anything important.
I mean, that whole idea. Like, have you seen one thing that I think is really important? Like, one thing that we've seen since 2017 is how everyone loves the orcas and they love the whales, they love the upvotes and this big fat, like, oh, you need to make something that's going to get someone's attention, and it's the same now. It's with there being so much less activity and less water in that pond I was talking about, and everyone's so close together. It's like, if you kept building your project over and over just to please impress current whales, you know what I mean, just because you want to get their attention, then that right there sums up the entire scope of your project. You know what I mean? Like, if the only thing that you do is focus on the current technology, current user base, and just who's here now, then you can't even see tomorrow. You can't even think about future investors or how to get future investors because you're too busy chasing whales. You know what I mean? And you see that all the time, like people that create content when they first come on and they're chasing the big upvote from a big whale. And so if you focus your whole project on like chasing that, but in any percentage, not just the whale, but if you're just chasing the minnows and the dolphins and the orcas, if you're just mindset to right now, then the scope of your project is pretty much just on the Steam blockchain. So you have to think bigger. You have to think outside.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of these the projects popping up right now with different economic incentives. Like I know on Palnet, you get rewarded in the PAL coin, and then there's also things for interacting here in the Discord. With different things that they used to do MSP active tokens, and then you could redeem those for a Steam upvote. And there's different ways of doing it and incentivizing your token economics and things like that. And it's pretty interesting. It gives people a lot of people have the space here to play with different ideas on free market token economics. Is pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely important to listen to people. Like there's people that have been around for a long time, and they know what's going on. You know what I mean? And I just spent a couple of hours yesterday on a phone call with a witness, and really just getting the backstory, trying to really paint a picture of what's going on to see things a little clearer. And I think that's what we have to do. You have to be able to take in new information, take in information that you want to hear, take in information that you don't want to hear, and then you just kind of, keep going.
Yeah. So currently, I know that you reached out to me and you were looking for, some more people to get involved with doing some manual curation with your community, and maybe you want to talk about that for a little bit, and maybe how people can get involved with that if they want to.
Yeah. So what's happening now with Interblocks is going through a bit of a change, right? And it's just a small change, which is just dropping the. So it was the Interblocks. Now it's just Interblocks.
Yeah.
But with doing that, we've also had to change the Steam account over to Interblocks and change all the logos, change all the affiliate logos, and just shift everything over. So while we're doing that, one of the projects that we took on was a Discord-based curation bot. And so before, Stacey D and I would take, and it was I believe that we had delegated something just over 5,000 SP, and then Stacey D and I would manually curate every day, just the two of us. And so we spent so much time just curating content. So we got with Tib Fox, who designed a wonderful Discord-based bot, and we started taking on volunteer curators. So the content that we want to support is real-life content. So it's someone having an experience. So say it's pretty much homesteading. 100% of that is under Interblocks because it's homesteading. But if it's like a recipe, then we're not looking for just the recipe, but we're looking for someone to talk about how that recipe turned out when they tried it. Or music, we're not looking for someone to just post a song that they like. We're looking for someone who wrote a song or is playing the song themselves, or something like that, some personal experience that they're connected to it. If it's about crypto, don't just post like crypto jargon on there talking about Bitcoin, but your experience with trading or something that you've gone through. And so what we want to do is really encourage people to live their best life. You know what I mean? So Interblocks, #Interblocks equals experience. Like there's people out here boating right now, and when they get home, they can share their pictures about their time on the boat. There's people performing music behind me. There's people coming to this festival. There's people walking their dogs. Like that's all just experience. Life is content. I learned that phrase a while ago from Papa Pepper, and it's just life is content. It just depends how you see it. So if we can encourage people to see that, in that every aspect of them is content if they want to share it. And so we took on this curation bot and getting curators to volunteer to actually support more people. And what I'd really like to do is have that thing going around the clock, you know what I mean? And it's set up, so easy to use that these curators, they copy the URL and then they just come into the bot room, they put plus curate and then paste the URL. And then Stacey D and I, we just kind of moderate that to make sure that the content there curating, it lines up with the vision of the community, And so we've just taken on, I think we're up to 6 curators. And just this morning, I helped get a guy from Bangladesh on board. So we're going to get content just from the other side of the world, And so we're going to reach out into more countries and more languages for the same vision. We're human. We're humans having an experience here in this world. Let's support that. So what we're looking for, I know that we're still growing. I think we just went over 5,300 SP, and we don't even have everyone transferred over yet. But we're taking on more delegations from people because, the average user needs 100, 200 SP. I think I think I listened to Exile talking about that the other day. So it's like, hey man, when people just have SP sitting there, you can be a part of something bigger. Increase the a community's vote. Like any community, not just Interblocks, but any community, you can delegate to increase their impact in the community. So we're taking on more delegations and taking on more curators. So we're looking for more people that are active online that want to find that great content. And so then we want to expand, like I said, and the bot only votes down to 80%, and then it'll hold everything in queue. And as soon as the power comes back up, it starts voting again. So we can stack it up, and it can just roll 24 hours a day.
So is that when somebody includes a tag for Interblocks, does it automatically show up on the front end, or do they get some kind of upvote for the content that's curated through the Interblocks, or how does that work?
So if someone uses the tag Interblocks, it'll show up in the news section on the DApp on the front end. And so right now people can go to www.theinterblocks.com, and they can see pretty much the base where we're working, right? It's a fully functional front end that's plugged into the blockchain. And we're doing, with all of the name changes, we've actually gone ahead and we have interblocks.com. And what we're doing is Jason is building out all the rest of the features and continuing to develop the front end. And when it gets to a point where we're ready to really roll it out for the masses, we're going to roll it over to interblocks.com. And it'll be the same thing. So using the tag Interblocks, we'll pull the post into the news section. And so when people curate, it's curating at a 50%. And we're encouraging people to curate from any tag they want to. It doesn't have to be just Interblocks.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
So it gives a 50% upvote from the steam power of Interblocks?
Yep.
Okay.
And so it'll give a 50% upvote from the steam power from Interblocks, and then it'll drop an automatic comment in the comment section, which will also include the name of the curator. Okay. So you can see, say it's Making Stuff. So Making Stuff goes up and curates some awesome content, and it'll shoot out and it'll say, boom, it says, thank you for sharing your experience. It says, you've been curated, by Making Stuff, by @Making Stuff on behalf of Interblocks,
Yeah.
That way.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy thing to do there, and it's I like that way to curate, and with the curation groups like C Squared and like the some of the bigger manual curation accounts is like they kind of collected the posts and post them on Steemit, and then you get that collection of posts. But now you're doing the same thing, but now you have the custom front end to view all those posts. So
yeah, and we would love to encourage. I mean, the idea with the DApp, what we were talking about before with the front end, was to bring all this amazing content to one place, to ultimately encourage those creators to use the front end, right? Because that would be the long term, right? Because getting people to use the front end and then have it cross post over to other front ends for them. But that's saying that's for the current users, and then as new users learn about other front ends, they can do the same thing. That's that OneStop Shop I was talking about. And so we've reached out to several communities because we know that there's a lot of communities that are not building out their front ends and they're not tokenizing. And so we reach out to them as well about having categories right there on our main page. And so they can have all the posts with their main tags all sorted out there so they can get more exposure as well. So we're trying to be a place where people can see, like I said, the real life experience from many different angles and perspectives. And there's already amazing communities out there. So we want to represent those communities that want to be represented. And really, man, just bring more exposure to more people, to more content, more communities, spread the word.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to get involved with curation, how do they do that? Do they is there a max number of curators that you're looking for? You want to
no.
bring in as many people that would like to as possible?
Absolutely, because I think I'm one of those people. I'm kind of like the more the merrier, and I'm ready to like push it to the limit. It's like when you're buying a used car, you're going to take it out the first 30 miles, and you're going to get hard on it to see if it's going to break. So I would rather just take on a bunch of curators and have an opportunity to support that much content than to kind of be nervous about it and back off of it. So if someone is interested in curating for Interblocks, please just DM me at Freedom Point.
Okay. So with the I know here on MSP that there's a certain amount of curators, and then each person kind of has like a day that they curate to keep the voting power from not getting totally drained. Like, you guys thinking about something like that, maybe?
No, right now, as far as I know, it just goes down to 80%, and then it just holds it in queue until the voting power comes back up, and then as soon as the voting power is
okay.
there,
So the bot is handling when to do the vote. Okay.
Yeah. So if it stacks up and the voting power goes too low, then as soon as the voting power comes back up, it'll just start in the queue again.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That's cool.
So
That's a really cool way of handling that.
Yeah, man. So if our voting power continues to be refilled every 24 hours, it's not a hard 24 hours. It's a rolling 24 hours, And so it should be able to just sit there and continue to roll and upvote 24 hours a day. I mean, if we can get it that much. But right now, like I said, we have six curators, and I think we've only dipped down to like 93%. Like we haven't even seen the 80s yet, let alone seen the bot have to hold. You know what I mean? So it's like when we want to talk about bringing on more, our next goal is 10,000 SP. And so if we have 10,000 SP and then even more curators, and just keep going.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to delegate to their project, how would they to the Interblocks? How did they do that? Do you have some links for SP delegations, or just go ahead and click on the account and delegate in your wallet that way?
Yeah, everything that I do is through steamworld.org. And I'm on my phone. I would be dropping links like crazy here, but I use steamworld.org because it's really easy to navigate everything with the account, and then just delegate to @Interblocks. And then,
okay.
We welcome delegations of all sizes, and we've been asked this as well, like, are we going to seek a Steam, like a Steam and Ink delegation? And we're not. So everything is like from here, like we're talking, it's grassroots, build it up from the bottom, don't feel responsible like you owe anybody anything, and then give like crazy. You know what I mean? And, for Stacey D and I, this entire project to build out this front end, we're still working through the business model on how to, quote, keep the lights on, you know what I mean? But to be founders in all of this, like, we have a dream. Sure, man. I would like, to purchase a car that I'm not nervous is going to break down with my kids in it, or like buy some land and start another homestead. Like, we have goals like that, but beyond that, we come from a very give it all away. That's our personality, is to give it all away, to have conferences, to host conferences and give stuff away and not charge people to come there. If anything, give them gas cards and say, thank you for coming. You know what I mean? It's a whole different mindset, but it's one of those things where it's going to take time for people to really trust Interblocks, trust Stacey D and I, because, we are operating in a world full of people that have already been burned by somebody else,
Yeah.
So,
and it's just, maybe you got the real issue is just finding the self sustainability of the project, right, and trying to figure out how to reward people for getting involved and make it attractive for people to get more involved, I guess, with the project. That's and finding the use cases is what you were talking about earlier.
Yep. Finding the use cases. I mean, the part right now that we've been working on is, as this is all going through, is we've been working on actually all the legal stuff to create Interblocks as an entity here in the United States. So it will be a corporation and it will have its legs to stand on. And then from there, what we want to do is bridge between the digital world and the physical world, and be able to be not just be impactful with cryptocurrency, but then be impactful in this world as well. You know what I mean? To really help and give.
So you were talking about maybe how a lot of the on YouTube, and you got creators on YouTube that a lot of some of their stuff is kind of funded through merchandise sales and things like that. So maybe a little bit about what you're talking about earlier with the merchandising is using the token and getting outside of the current economic system, using the tokenized economy to buy real goods and things to help support content creators and things like that. So is that kind of where your vision is kind of leading?
Yeah, I mean, there's the possibility is really, it's endless. You know what I mean? So say you could set it up in such a way that I don't know what's something that just happened. Okay, so we really like yoga with Adrienne. She's based out of Austin, Texas, and she goes out to other places like Red Rock Amphitheater, and she hosts a big event like a morning yoga session, and people pay for that. But it's like you can go and sponsor that kind of stuff, get your name out there, plus you're paying for people to go have an experience. So that's just one aspect. I just choose yoga because it's like front of mind what we were just Stacey and I were just talking about. But like there's conferences, there's events, there's things that are happening all over the place that could use a little help, right? So imagine that we could get that help, get that marketing, and then just if we have use cases for the tokens and then a way for people to get the tokens, I think that you can build that economy and bridge those two. Okay. And then go out from there. I mean, say it's basics like, say that you are selling stuff, marketplacing T-shirts and car stickers, bumper stickers, that sort of stuff, and that you can take either fiat or the token, whatever token we choose, and then that way you can, get some, say some revenue coming in, even if it's not that's not a revenue model, but say you have that revenue coming in, or you're creating demand for your token.
Right.
I think it's a good idea. I think that if you don't blow out, you just don't create so many tokens that you can't build value. I don't know, man. For me, I guess I'm that wildly optimistic person that thinks that the sky's the limit.
Yeah, it's to me, it really is all about the use case of it, and kind of the one of the big things that I think that could be wildly successful is a more privacy centered thing on Steemit, a more privacy centered kind of front end or something like that, as a possibility. And it's just, it is wild with all these different tokens and things. It's whoever's going to come up with the most compelling, front end and how to incentivize it the best is going to be, the best ideas will win out. It's truly a free market competition here. So,
but
very well.
But see, even I'll jump in there, but even then, who incentivizes it the most? That's for current user. You know what I mean? If you think outside of that, and you think about like, hey, I met someone at a farmer's market today and I got them on board to Interblocks.com. They got signed up and made their first post. They don't even know what the other ones are. So you don't have to incentivize them away from something else. You know what I mean? Just like when Steem right now, if you walked up to somebody right now and said, hey man, you can earn some crypto, even a little bit, just for, be rewarded in crypto. In Steem right now, it's like 18 cents. And then you're like, well, how much are you making on Facebook? And so now 18 cents looks like, well, crap, with time, this would be awesome. But if you're talking to someone that was here on Steam when Steam was up at like $8, $9, $10, and now you're talking about 18 cents, they think that it's the butthole of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's about people's perspective. So if you're just trying to sell your product to current users, then you do have to compete in this, and you have to incentivize people to come to you, because that's when you're trying to get the current users to come to your project, not thinking outside when you're bringing new users on. So when new users come on, you need the use cases versus the incentive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and it's it's really cool seeing all the different communities and the things popping up, and it's exciting times as far as that aspect goes, and seeing which one will have the where people can take ideas and just make it easier for people to use cryptos is the main thing that I'm kind of pushing for is just like, let's start using the alternative forms of currency instead of the mainline fiat system that is losing value by the minute through inflation. So, if we can take these things and start using the alternative economy more, then we can kind of move in a different direction here. So,
Sure.
So, you guys are on a current thing that you guys are helping out on a farm, correct? Like, how did you guys find the people to get started on that, and how's your family doing with that part of your journey right now?
Oh man, it's been so amazing. So it's like, I don't know, it almost feels like the perfect setup for exactly this time in our life. Like we do spend, like when I say that I'm a full-time, work online full-time, it takes a lot of hours in a day to do what we're doing. And then what we found, we were in Ohio over the holidays this past December, and we started talking because we made that deal regarding our house in Missouri. We started talking like, okay, well, we might need to look on how to make some money, maybe looking to get a job on the road, and so she was looking about, okay, well, where do you want to go? I said, well, I don't want to just go back to Missouri. I don't want to just like go back where I'm comfortable and just try to find something. So, well, let's look at the other place that we tried to homestead before Missouri, which was northern Michigan, which is a different climate, right? We weren't ready to homestead in the cold, not at all.
Yeah,
so
it's too cold up there, man.
Yeah, well, if you're a first-time homesteader, it's so much difficult. You know what I mean? So much more difficult. But we said, okay, well, let's go up there, get our little foot in the door, let's see what's going on. And so she started looking at jobs in the area, and then she just prayed through it because she wasn't finding anything, and she felt that she should look at housing. And so she looked at housing, and there was a little ad right there that said farmhouse exchange for farm labor. And so we looked at it, man, and they have this old, it's over 100 years old, but it's like a 1,400 square foot farmhouse. And the farmhouse has like the gas and the electric actually run from their greenhouse. So the utilities are paid to the farmer. And so I just worked it off, I think it's about 55. If I do 55 hours, just 55 hours on the farm in a month, that'll cover the house, that'll cover the utilities, and that'll pay for my 2 cell phones and a tank of gas. You know what I mean? Like,
wow,
it's crazy. Yeah, we've worked out a dollar amount. Like, we don't have any contracts. I don't have any rental agreements or anything. We have an agreed on dollar amount, and we track hours and expenses, and everything that goes over the goal of what we need for the house and utilities, she just pays me cash.
Wow, that's a cool arrangement.
Plus, we get their free Wi-Fi. So,
wow,
so that's cool. Yeah, man. So we're out on the farm. We have over 30 head of cattle that we care for and 1 horse, and we just got rid of all of our chickens. But we just build fences, maintain fences. I do all the equipment maintenance, fixing, welding, whatever he needs done. Yeah. And then and yeah, so pretty much that's what we do, and I sell stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, stuff laying around, and that's a skill set that I utilize. So I sell stuff, and I sell on margins. I say, so what's your bottom dollar, and they'll tell me what they need out of it, and then I'll sell it for however much I can and keep the difference.
Wow.
So
Did you pick this up through like a Craigslist thing, or was there like a
Oh,
specific site or
sorry,
something
sorry.
like that?
Nope, Craigslist.
Okay.
Just Craigslist, Northern Michigan Craigslist.
Wow. Wow, that's really
Yeah,
cool.
man.
So there's opportunities all around for stuff like that then, huh?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's everywhere because there's always someone that just needs help. I mean, that's the world. It's not that people need help in the sense of like they need you to drop off a stack of money and some groceries, but they might need help because they're getting pulled in too many directions. And there's a lot of people, actually, just since I've been here, I've been approached by several people to come do it for them. And even
Yeah.
a little farther north from here, about 2 hours north from here, there's a campground. And the guy wanted me and the family to move up there and take care of his campground with him. You know what I mean? So like there's
Yeah.
always opportunities, like you don't have to feel trapped or stuck in something. I mean, it would be nice to homestead because I like I like to build stuff
Yeah.
and know that I'm going to see it long term.
Yeah.
Because right now when I build stuff, I may never see it again. You know what I mean? So
Right, and that was you talked about it a little earlier, is that you guys still have that dream of going and getting another piece of land and doing the homestead from scratch again?
I would absolutely do it again. I would do
Okay.
it a little different this time. Like now that we're not first time homesteaders and the climate's different, I would definitely do it different. I mean, people have to be mindful of what they need at first. Like you need your land and you need an ability to clear land, however much you need cleared, whether that's a chainsaw in a truck or whether that's, animals that you need to pull trees or whatever. And if you have animals, goats, whatever, then you have to be able to pin them in or, so it takes resources. So I would do
Right.
it different, man. I'd make sure that I had a pole barn with a cement floor that had all the electric ran to it and a well. And that's where I would start.
Okay.
And that way I would have everything that you need. You know what I mean? So you have some electric right off the bat. Even if you want to go off grid, and if you have electric right off the bat, well, that's charging your cell phones, and that's doing all that work for you that you can always disconnect later. And it runs your well. So while you're building the process, man, I don't know how many people build their own homesteads, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
and so then ultimately you can build a house there that's off grid, solar, wind, and all that, which apparently the wind coming off this water, the wind might be a good idea. But
Yeah.
but I would
Pretty windy up there.
You know what? Yeah, so I would definitely do that all over again. And I love chickens. I love having chickens. I'd have a ton of hundreds of chickens. I don't give a crap, man.
Chickens are super awesome animals, man. I was just watching one of my favorite YouTubers, Justin Rhodes. He did a 24-hour challenge of living with his chickens.
Oh, geez, yeah.
And it's great. And I've been reading Joel Salatin's book, You Can Farm, and he says in the book that a pastured poultry operation is like a really great opportunity now in farming to raise free range pastured poultry.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't eat the chickens or the eggs. I just like having chicken. So I mean, I'd have them all around. I like how they eat bugs. That's what they give back to me. I'll feed them every day and keep them safe every day if they just eat the ticks and the bugs. But
I know, man, they do an excellent job of that.
They're giants in their own world. You know what I mean? Like you just sit and watch a chicken. It walks around like it's 100 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like you just walk around a chicken. They act like you're not even there because you're so big.
Yeah.
They're in their own world. I absolutely love it. So these birds that we had here, they were not our birds. The farmer's wife was done taking care of them. So they offered to let us just 100% take over on them. And we did. And I lost one of my new roosters to a predator. And we knew that we couldn't build or change or modify. We didn't have the resources to really get them ready for wintertime or any of that. So we went ahead and gave them away. Somebody else, to
Okay.
a better home. But, so one day we'll have chickens again.
Yeah, that's interesting that you guys are vegans and with the animals and livestock and raising those. So if it if it would come to that to butchering the chickens, then you guys would just give them over to somebody else or something like that, or just kind of let them live their life out and
Oh, live their life out. Yeah, you
okay,
see,
cool.
what's funny is that I'm not going to say I'm vegan because I don't like labels, right? I
Yeah.
say that I would eat a vegan diet, if you will, as in no animal or animal byproducts. And so Stacy D and the kids still eat eggs. So they're, I don't know, you might call them vegans. I don't know, but they're like 99% vegan. But
Yeah.
the benefit that's come for me from not eating animal or animal byproduct is not just physical. I mean, there's been physical, definitely physical enhancement, if you will. And then my spiritual life has changed. My connection with animals has changed. My life has changed. And
Yeah.
so, I'm to the point now where, I have been not consuming animal or animal byproduct for like 2.5 years. And I haven't even eaten meat now for almost, it's been over 8 years now.
Okay.
And so I'm to the point
Wow.
now where it's like, like I tell everybody, like I'm 6'5", I'm 270.
You
You
look
know,
like you're pretty buff.
yeah. Do I look like I'm starving to death or like I'm some sickly vegan? People are like, well, where do you get your protein? I was like, well, I get my protein where your protein gets its protein. You know what I mean? Like, I eat the plants. I eat like the energy that's coming. Like, there's so much more to it. So now I've just gotten to the point where I don't feel like there's any need for something to die for me to live, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And people they're just like, oh well, I have to do it because I'm a homesteader and I'm not running to the grocery for everything. I'm gonna kill my own animals. And I'm like, well then, bro, where did all those big packs of Mountain Dew come from? You know what I mean? Did you hunt down your Mountain Dew? You know what I mean? It's like you spent your money. You went to the grocery store and you spent money on something that you're going to consume. You can do the same thing with vegetables. It comes to like principle, like, oh, I'm a homesteader and I can raise it and kill it. Then it turns into like this whole different statement. You know what I mean? So
I do think it is a balance. I do think that it is important to know the skills, and yeah, I'm not. I'm kind of like there is a lot of science into what you were talking about with the energy in consuming only raw foods. Is that they still have that life, the life force in them.
oh, for sure.
And there's something called krillin photography, where you can take a plant or a person or anything, and you can actually see like the energy coming off of it, and then with raw foods, you can see that energy pattern coming off of it. But if you like microwave that thing or cook it, then that energy is like it's almost not there anymore.
Oh yeah. And I would like to say to be really clear is like I don't care what other people eat. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to convince anybody one way at all. Like I don't
Yeah.
care what people eat. You know what I mean? Which is a big thing because when I say that I eat like this, sometimes people get defensive, especially if I start dropping information. They get more defensive. But you know what? I think the science is there to show the energy, and I balance everything that I do. All my research, I balance off my sister, who's a doctor in Ohio. And I just ask her, I'm like, hey, so what about this and this and this and this and this? And she says, okay, well, this is caused by this. She can run me all the way down to really, I mean, the studies are there for what animal and animal byproducts do to your body, and this is just a side note. So like most people think heart attacks are caused by like cholesterol, but they're not. Heart attacks and strokes and everything are caused from inflammation in the body. So inflammation comes when your body's not well, and the number one leading cause of inflammation is meat and dairy. And
Yeah.
so people don't want to accept it. They say, okay, well, it's not worth the risk, or people want to argue that the science doesn't back it or there's no proof or whatever. And I just say, okay, well, I can start to see my abs, so I think I'm on the right path. You know what I mean? Like if someone gets really defensive and they just get ignorant, like I said earlier, that's fine. but I'm not trying to convince anybody. I just want people to be well. I want people to win, and
Yeah.
and as far as learning the skill of needing to know how to kill and eat, man, if there was ever a time when it was absolutely necessary, then it's going to go back to how it was before. It's instinct. People are going to either know how to do it or they're not, and then next thing you know, that's going to take care of population as well. You know what I mean? So I don't know. As far as learning skills, like we learned a lot of skills. Like we used to bushcraft, and I used to hunt, I used to fish. So my kids have skills, I have skills, my wife has skills. You know what I mean? But like, I'm just thinking about it now. When I think about every scenario possible, and I can't think of any time when I'd have to use those skills.
Yeah, well, there's lots of abundance that the earth gives us, and there is something kind of metaphysical about growing plants and what they give you, because it's almost like giving a gift to you, with fruits coming off the plants and their seeds and keeping the cycle of abundance going is there is something kind of metaphysical to that as well. And
Yeah.
and
People talk about food. There's wild edibles all around us that can sustain us and our families all over the place. You just walk in the woods and you learn, right? You get a book and you learn. And people would say that they need to learn how to hunt to survive. So if you have to put the time and the effort and the energy into learning one skill, which is hunting, is much easier, then why wouldn't you put the time into reading a book, identifying plants, and learning how to live that way? That's a viable skill as well. It's just not mainstream. People don't campaign for it. People campaign for hunting because it's got this like stigma around it that people love it. You know what I mean? But people don't really campaign for wild edibles or learning. Like you could be sitting, like we were walking through a park over in California, and it was this redwood park, and this guy comes right, he picks up his little like 3 or 4 year old kid, sets him up on this little partition, this wall, and they start picking berries off of this plant right here at like this park. And it's like, I thought it was decoration. It turns out it was huckleberries, and they're just sitting there having a nice snack. You know what I mean? So I'm like, whoa, man, teach me about this. What's going on? So me and the kids ended up having huckleberries right there from a decorative plant. So that stuff is everywhere.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff about the medicinal properties of tainted blood. Talks about magic mushrooms, but just edible mushrooms having great healing properties, and things like reishi and some other types of mushrooms is what I've been looking into. Breeze brought up a good point there, is that if you're eating meat, then you should go through that process of taking the life of the animal that you want to eat, and then you look at it a different way.
What's funny about that is when we raised rabbits for the people locally, and we sold them for meat to try to get people to stop eating McDonald's and buying stuff from the store and just getting junked up. So if someone's convinced they need meat, well, then why can't we try to help them with a better source? Yeah. And so we were doing that. And so we actually involved people in the processing. And I've seen so many people start to cry after they kill that rabbit. You know what I mean? Because there's a connection. But the biggest lie or the biggest fallacy that I've heard is people say, oh, don't worry, you get used to it. Like killing a fish, killing a rabbit, shooting something, taking a life. They say, don't worry, it gets easier. And I tell people right away, I look at them square right in the friggin' face. I tell them, I said, if this ever gets easier, then you're becoming a monster. There was a reason that Hitler started using gas chambers, because the SS started losing feeling when they were killing people. It was getting too easy. You know what I mean? There's a reason that we're programmed. Like, it should not be easier. Like, if we just pick up something and kill something, like shooting other people or shooting rabbits, like, if it ever loses that impact of holy crap, I just took its life, I see it breathe its last, then bro, then we've got an issue. You need to step back.
It's no joke. Yeah, to do that is you are taking that life form's life, and then hopefully you're using it for a good purpose, and it had a good life, and I kind of think that we are at a point in time where there can be so much natural abundance, but we have to move away from the industrialized methods of farming that had been going on for so long, and start moving into more localized food production. And it just comes from every individual taking on that and trying to create the abundance that you want to see in the world, I think. And
Yeah, I had this little side story here, man. I try not to kill anymore. I don't kill anything, man. And because I feel like it really messes with me. Now that's more like chakra energy talk, and it takes me from my upper 3 chakras to my lower 3. And I don't like it. I don't like who I am when I'm in survival mode. And I'd rather be in thriving mode and be in a different place. And so I was out with the farmer's daughter, and we were just out of the chicken coop, and we'd found a chicken that the pop door had fallen down, and it had blasted the chicken in the head, and the chicken was dying, right? It wasn't dead yet, but it was dying. So it needed, like good steward, it needed put down. So I communicated with them, and they said, yeah, the daughter will do it. And the daughter's like, yeah, I'll do it. Okay, yeah, it's all part of farming, no big deal. So we walked down to where we're going to leave the carcass, and I explained to her exactly what to do. Like I taught her about cervical separation, and so which is pretty much ringing it. And so she's like, oh yeah, she's 15, right? But she's like, oh, it's all part of life. It's all part of farming. I said, okay. And so she started to ring it, and that chicken started squealing. And so I had to grab it up, and I had to dispatch it myself, And she's like, oh, well, it'll just get easier. I'll get better at it. And I had to have that talk with her. Like, your skill might improve, but it shouldn't get easier, So, and then talking about mushrooms, man, well, that's a whole nother bag of cats.
yeah,
I can't.
You had some experiences.
No, not yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
I absolutely am going to, because I'm so fascinated. Like, I actually research psilocybin a lot, and hallucinogens and psychedelics and like different things that expand your mind and expand your consciousness. And I heard this great, I don't know if you've ever heard the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah.
But he had somebody on there named Paul Stamets. Write that down. If you want to learn about mushrooms, look at Paul Stamets. I think he is fungi.com. And just listening to their stories about the psilocybin and all that it does. And so pretty much Stacey D and I are working out a deal that when the kids are adults, I'll go ahead and do it. She said something about my brain's valuable, don't tamper with it. I said okay. And so my experience will come, man, and I hope to see the universe, man. I want to hear ants walking.
Oh man, yeah. So it's I kind of feel like I've had an experience on the magic mushrooms back in the day, and it was pretty transforming. One of the big things that happened was it's the ego death, and kind of had a little bit of an out of body thing. And after that experience, it kind of put some things into a different perspective for me, and it definitely opens your eyes to that there's more going on than we can see just with our physical senses.
Okay, so I'm seeing here Inertia says this is obnoxious. Would you like to divulge more about that, or talk a little bit more about what's obnoxious or how it's obnoxious?
I think he's talking about like the reason for the he was saying earlier that he's cool with paying people who find it easy to kill animals, but he's not okay for people that find it easy to kill people. So who's the monster? And I would say, yeah, man. I mean, I would look more toward the people that are doing the ethical farming practices. And my big thing is the industrial way that meat and animals are processed now is a pretty horrible thing that's going on. And I think that raising your own and keeping your food away from the hormones and all that kind of stuff is a lot better for your own personal health.
Yeah, what's funny is that when it comes to like lifestyle and choices or opinions and stuff like that, like I don't share any of this because like when it comes to like my personal life, the same way that I don't care what other people do, like I really don't care like what people do, what people eat, what people whatever, but when it comes back and then you start talking about this stuff and some of your personal opinions come out and all of a sudden your opinions are on the table for other people to feel or scrutinize how they see fit. That's why I don't really talk about opinions. So, yeah, this has been an awesome show. Hey, why not? This guy sucks, doesn't know crap about tokens. Think people that eat meat are monsters. What's really going to be the takeaway for people? You know what I mean? Like, like I'm just an individual. I'm a person living my life. I want people to have their best experience.
Yeah, well, I often get into sharing my opinions pretty outspokenly, and get into the debates. I was recently that happened this week on Palnet. Is I got into a pretty heated thing on Rondon's show and the pirate, and I enjoy the debates with other people and hearing people's views on any side of the issues, and I just I think it's important to talk about it too, and share our ideas with each other, and that way you can kind of come closer to the truth. And I'm about seeking the truth and finding the truth no matter what the cost. And so, in my opinion, it's about talking about things and not shying away from talking about them.
Yeah, I used to debate all the time, and it was always like it was easy to debate because you could always just like take a side of any argument. You just take a side and just go for it, And it just got to the point where like once you're arguing, once you're debating, like no one wins. There's not like a real, like you and I can pass on information, no problem. But if there's somebody that's just hearing the show or reading about the show, then they have, it's affecting them too. You know what I mean? So I think to be able to openly talk about things is fine. But it's 2019, and I'll be honest, like I talk a lot less now than I used to because people get so offended so easily. I mean, everybody thinks that everything's cut and dry, right and wrong, or if somebody does something different from them, then all of a sudden whatever they're doing is wrong. So all of a sudden there's a problem, and it's like there's no problem, like we're just simple people living an alternative lifestyle that's developing a company that's hopefully going to help a whole bunch of people, even if, we go about it in a way that people don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, everybody's got to go on their own journey. And I kind of feel the same way with you about kind of gauging people. You have to kind of gauge where people are at. And there was one guy I was watching recently, and he said, he kind of has a few questions he asks people, and if the that doesn't qualify for them, then he'll just be like, "Oh, what'd you think about the football game or whatever?"
Yeah, right. Like you can't handle a deep conversation. You just say, "How's the weather?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. And that's kind of where it is. Like, I don't know. I don't know. That's just the thing. Like when it comes to conversations, most people don't want to have a deep conversation. Or it's like you do have a deep conversation. Again, if you're having a deep conversation, you're surrounded by people that also are deep thinkers. So they might have more of an established idea of where they stand on stuff, man. So I just don't honestly, in nothing in my life, I don't do anything to really get people riled up. I hate when people get riled up anymore. Like I said, I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting people anymore. I'm not arguing, debating, nothing. It's just
yeah. It's just to me, it's all about growing as an individual and just kind of moving down that path to challenging yourself, putting yourself outside of your own comfort zone, and in adopting that growth mindset, because I believe that growth mindset is an abundance mindset. it's you may not know what the thing you're trying to do is now, but you'll get there, and
Yeah, man.
you'll go through some failures, but you'll get there.
Yeah, if somebody really wants to put themselves out of their comfort zone and and really grow as a person, they should start trying to develop a front end. You know, it's like I run, like I'll call them physical world businesses. Like I run businesses here in the real world, but I've never done a web-based business before. There's a lot of stuff I'm learning for the first time, but I'll tell you, just like in the real world, man, everybody knows everybody absolutely knows that whatever you're doing, they can do it better than you. So if you want to grow as a person, put yourself in that position and listen to that crap all day. You start to really get, I'm not going to say callous, but you've got to learn how to take it, man, because everything that you do, every step of the way, Stacy D and I are building this platform out to benefit the many people, and all along the way, people have questioned our character, questioned our intention, questioned our vision, challenged us, insulted us, used foul language. I mean, every step of the way. So if you want to grow as a person, try to build something for somebody else, and then watch how quickly they try to burn it down before you get it off the ground.
Well, yeah, man, and through that process, you're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna learn a lot of stuff, and anything you do where it's going outside of the mainstream, and on my personal journey, it's like just deciding to do the homesteading thing and go in the direction that I'm going in is a lot of people look at you differently. I've lost a lot of friends and stuff for talking about some of the things and some of the opinions I voice. But I think for me, it's really about demonstrating the things to other people is really what it comes down to. And I think that I've come to the conclusion of is that everybody can talk till they're blue in the face, but there's a difference between talking the talk and walking the walk. And then, people look at what you're doing and, they can pick up on that more if you're demonstrating, hey, this guy can do it. Well, I know I can do it. Like, what's up with that Greg guy? It's like, if he's doing it, I can do it.
One thing, a new skill that we're definitely learning here is because obviously you're building something for many people, but we had to learn how to say, you don't have to join us on this journey. You're welcome to leave.
It's all voluntary, yeah.
It's all voluntary. It's all by choice, you know what I mean? And then, people get upset because they want to voice their opinions. They're not even trying to build the project up. And we had to learn how to just be okay saying, okay, you don't have to be here. You can leave the server, you can leave the project, you can say whatever you want. You don't have to be here. It's making you be here. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to join us on this journey, which we just view that this is another journey or another adventure in our life journey. You know what I mean? And people don't have to join us on it. We put it out there, like I said, because I know that there are people. I know that there are people, current users on the blockchain, that do think along the lines of living your best life, firsthand experience, firsthand content, all that kind of stuff. And if we're just creating something and they like it, man, we're excited to have them. And if there's someone who doesn't like the project, they don't like the layout, they don't like the leadership, they don't like whatever they don't like, then we're free to not, they don't have to be a part of it. And I think that's an important thing, because people are like, holy crap, that's a terrible business model. You can't tell people that they don't have to be here because you need everybody. Well, it's like, as soon as you just start kissing everybody's butt just to make your project work, your project already failed. That means that you're no longer building your dream, that you're just pandering to people that express their emotions towards your project. You're not building, you're not growing, they're not growing. Pretty much you just shifted your entire view to somebody else's view. Now you're building a project for that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you'll always have a boss. So you have to learn to say, hey, listen, I love you, but we don't have to be friends. You don't have to be here. I want you to win, but you don't have to win with me, Yeah.
And one of the comedians that I really like that's kind of got kicked off a bunch of platforms for speaking his mind, is Owen Benjamin, and he's got to the point in his live streams where he just bans everybody if they're trying to cause a stir in his little community, and he'll just ban people because he's just like, if the only thing that they want, their people that are coming in here trying to do is just to tear things down, then like I don't even want to deal with those people. So I mean, you gotta be assertive in life, and you can't just take a bunch of stuff from people. You gotta do no harm and take no shit, and that's I think one of the things that Jesus was trying to tell us too. Like he was not about like being to bring peace. He said he came to bring the sword, and it was to reveal the truth. And the truth is not about the way that the entire our society kind of operates right now is pretty evil, and it's like, that hurts a lot of people. So it's just so a lot of times the truth hurts, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's an important thing to do and go for.
I like that, dude. Do no harm, take no crap, man.
Yeah, do no harm, take no shit.
That's gonna be like a personal mantra, man. So it's one of those things. Like I said yesterday or the day before, is I had to ban the first person from Interblocks. So I love listening to people. I talk to people back and forth, and we can just dialogue, And I draw the line at, insults and foul language. Like when people just start attacking, you're done. And so that's what happened. This person, like, they turned to me and they said that they think that I'm the only person that would even listen to them. Like I'm their only listening ear. And they just came for the project. They wanted Interblocks, and they wanted to be a part of Interblocks. They wanted me to head up something else for them. And I started talking to them, and it was like an hour. I was listening to all of their rants and rambles, trying to figure out what they were talking about. And I said one thing wrong about open source, man, that person just laid into me. And then it was just, okay, well, we've reached an impasse, good luck. But it's like, you can't take that kind of stuff, like if people don't want to be a positive part, like you have to listen, because that's how you're going to grow, right? They have an alternative view to yours. You can't surround yourself with yes men, but you don't have to take that kind of crap either.
Yeah, so the guys here in PAL, that's actually their motto is do no harm but take no shit, and that's why I like these guys. I like the community here in PAL, is that people are trying to seek the truth. They got an open mind, and maybe sometimes we get offended about things, but I think it is important to listen to all but follow none. Have your own. Have your path, and try to take something from everybody, and just do no harm but take no shit.
Yeah. So what they're talking about, what did I say about open source? I'll talk about it. I don't care. So open source, they were just talking about coding, and this person wanted me to create a blockchain that would completely fix all of Steam Inc.'s problems, right? They wanted me to have open source where people could vote like a democracy and actually vote on the codes and the changes, and then make it all open source where any person could use the code anywhere, to start their own business, do their own thing, which, okay, all of that's fine. And they were just talking about open source. So open source, to me, what I understand it to be is that, hey, here's the code. You can use the code as you see fit. Well, then they started changing it. Well, we can just charge like a $25 subscription. I'm like, a subscription to what? Free code? You know what I mean? And then it was like, okay, well, then we can just raise this business like GitHub and sell it to Microsoft and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so you're taking all this work and this democracy, everything you're establishing, and you're turning it over to somebody else to sell it. Then who gets the money and who gets paid? Anyway, there was no real rhyme or reason to their logic. We were talking about open source. And then I started talking about that people build front ends. Not every front end is just open code. They're not just sharing their code. So, I mean, the back end and stuff, that's fine. But when people are building out a custom, unique front end, they may not be sharing that code. And then as soon as I said that, man, that person just laid into me. If you're not sharing your code, blah, 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 and just like just went off the handle.
One of the big
because-
one of the big things I think in the open source and especially in cryptocurrency is the idea that the code is auditable to find security holes, and so that's one of the big issues too in open source and in the whole software development movement. So,
I'm kind of with inertia. Like, I didn't even know what to explain to this guy. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like, what are you even talking about? It was like this person was talking to me in circles. And when I came back around to ask questions about open source and what they were talking about, and it's like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden, I'm the bad guy. So it's like, well, okay, you can call me a bad guy. That's fine. We'll part ways as friends. But, you know, but then the language came and the insults came, and it was like, I didn't even do anything, man. I don't even know you personally. So, but yeah, there's so many different things. Like, I know that people, like, I think that, like, transactions, like we were talking about, like ledgers, transactions, and all that. But like, this person was just talking about just every aspect of code. Like, if there's a custom front end that somebody worked their butt off on, and they didn't want to share that code, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, then people just take that code and create the exact same thing. That's how we have like 100 Steemits now. You know, they all look the same, using the same codes. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I guess if people want more websites that look exactly the same, then that's fine. And if someone does build out something that's really custom and put their time, effort, and energy into it, and they didn't want to just give it away, hey man, I also believe in free enterprise. If someone comes to you and they want to build something, you know, pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That works for me too. Like, if anything else in your life, like you built that trailer, you know, could you imagine all of your blood, sweat, and tears in that trailer, and someone just want to walk up, take a picture of it, and then they can make that picture into a 3D working trailer? You're like,
well,
what?
Actually,
You're like, I just built that trailer.
yeah, I did the project that anybody that wanted to find it could replicate it and make it better if they wanted to, but I also have a site in there that I'm going to create a PDF for this build and have that as a sellable item. So you could do it either way. If you want to go out and read all the posts and replicate it, you can. And then if you want to support me with by buying the PDF, then you can do that and help support me and my efforts in creating more. So
Right. So then that trailer, okay, well then let's call that open source code that they can see everything that you did. So imagine that you did some awesome things to your trailer, like maybe the way that you ran certain wiring, or you did custom bits on that you didn't really want to divulge to somebody else, and you said, hey, I'll build you that trailer for X amount of dollars. Now it's free enterprise. You know what I mean? And so then you have your ideas that you have the right to keep yourself. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have the right to keep your own information.
And that's I like this other guy that's in the space. He created something called he got really into building wood gasification and
nice.
Yeah, and improving on the wood gasifiers that were developed back in like the World War II in the 1940s, and what he did is, you know, he created the plans that you can download, and then you can create your own business just using his plans. So he's kind of given everybody, you know, as he said, hey, go start a business because I want to get these out there to as many people as possible, but support me and buy the plans, and that'll help me get to my next innovation. So I really liked his model on how to do things, and I want to try to emulate that as well and kind of go in that direction with what I've done with the trailer, and then you know, kind of the vision for that. So we're coming up on the end of the show here, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on and talk to us. There was another question that I wanted to ask you before we wrap up. We got a little bit of time here, but
sure. Make sure it's something that I can put a lot of opinion in, so a bunch of people can get a good opinion about. Because I love that. That makes me just.
Well, I wanted to just ask, you know, you guys are on this journey on the farm. It's like, what's your typical day like going through the farm and doing all that, and then doing all the stuff on Steemit and being a content creator and all that? Does a lot of your
well,
content come from the work on the farm and stuff?
Yeah, man. Yeah, life is content. I mean, I'll tell you what my day looks like is I get up, I don't know, whatever time in the morning. I walk out, say hi to the family, hugs and kisses and all that. How you doing? And I grab my phone and it starts. And I jump right on. I'll go through. I cycle through Discord to see all the direct messages, work through that, everything in the community. How you doing? What's going on? And then that goes right into checking my posts that I've made. Then I read, check on DTube, those posts. I work my way through the digital space, I check on some news, like Drudge Report. I look at different stuff, that I've got for sale. And then I put the phone down, I head out, and we're bottle feeding a calf. So then I'll go out and I'll bottle feed this calf. And then I'll come back in and we'll get everything going. And by that time, I either already have a video made or I have an idea for a video because I like making vlogs just about life and perspective. And then I'll sit down there and I'll engage again, like with Discord, researching stuff about FAQs, white papers, reading up on business, legal stuff. I start really reading and consuming and drinking some coffee. And then I will, probably by 10:30, Stacy D and I will come to the living room and she and I do yoga together. We do yoga 6 days a week, and then we get on to, after that will be more farm stuff, like whatever I might need to do around the farm. Like I've got 2 lists I follow. I have a timed list, which means that, I know, like I have to get this done by a certain date, and then I've got another list, which is just filler stuff for me to get hours, and I'll start banging away at that. About noon or noon 30, I'll eat breakfast for the first meal of the day, and then I'll go right back into the digital space while I'm eating there at lunch. And then if there's something else to do, then I'll head out and go do that. And then if not, I just stay working online, stay communicating with people, and then that'll take me all the way up to dinner. We come together for dinner as a family, then I bottle feed the calf again, and Stacy D and I, we go on a date. That's a whole day. That's an average day, at least for me, for the last 2 months, but
yeah, wow,
different projects. Yeah, it's pretty much the same format every day, except for Saturdays. We observe the Sabbath on a Saturday, and that's why I'm just sitting out by a water in town, out by a lake. And I don't know, man, but that's on average what it is. Now, sometimes it's a little more, like when it was hay season, because I was cutting hay, I was raking the hay, I was baling the hay, and then hauling the hay, and then we got deliveries, 3 big semi loads. So I was out on the tractor loading hay until after midnight one night, so that happens. Or on Mother's Day, my 2 boys and we ran a brand new fence for the farmer, so we had to drill holes and put in these wood posts and then T-posts and run the high tension wire and then run all the electric and run fences. So it just really depends on the project. Some days, like when the wintertime comes, or September comes, I'll be moving hay and I'll be power washing down all the hay and equipment, getting it ready for the barn for the winter, and I'll be prepping all the rigs and stuff for the snow. And then when the snow comes on, I'll be feeding the cattle a sweet mix, which trains them to come up out of the field. And then I'll be plowing snow and doing maintenance. And then I have my phone on me all the time. So if I get a break, I jump on my phone and I check what's going on. So people can find me on friggin' Discord all the time. I can't seem to set it down because it seems like there's too much going on. So
cool.
Now,
cool, man.
that's like a whole day.
Yeah. So, man, that's a quite busy operation. You're not probably always on the go, man. You're one of those guys that can't stop. So,
well, my brain doesn't stop. So if I'm just sitting down on the couch, my brain's going, well, why not make my hands work too? Find the information I'm looking for and like make something happen. Like every day I wake up, I've got the opportunity to make something happen. So there's no sense just squandering the day. And, like, I like rest and all, but I'll tell you what, I became self-employed back in 2013, man. And from that point on, if I've got time for a hobby, I've got time to make some money.
The hustle never stops. Yeah.
The hustle never stops.
Yeah.
So I fill my day.
Sorry, Rondon said if we can go ahead and rejoin live on air before we get off, and then we'll go ahead and see if we can join that live on air, and then we'll close out the show and give you any of the last things that you'd like to leave everybody.
Well, one more time. Somebody drove by. What was that?
See if you can join the live on air right before we close out here. Join that live on air room again. And
see with the one with Crimson.
Just the regular live on air. There we go. Okay, so if you have anything else that you'd like to leave the audience with today, as we close out.
Man, no. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, get out there, live your best life, be excited about what you do, and have a lot of fun with it. Whatever you choose to do it hard, man. Don't worry about what other people think or get caught up on thoughts. Come check us out, Inner Blocks, where we're celebrating people living as individuals, firsthand experience. Feel free to delegate to Inner Blocks at Inner Blocks. And if you want to curate, please direct message me at Freedom Point. And I think that might be it, man. I appreciate you being here, or I appreciate you having me here. I've had a lot of fun answering questions and putting things out in the light and getting other people's perspective.
Awesome, brother, and really appreciate your time today and coming on the show to share with the audience, and really appreciate you and the journey, and I look forward to following everything that you're up to. Definitely going to be getting in on your curations, and look forward to anybody that would like to get into that as well. So thank you guys for joining today, and coming up, I guess we do have Crimson Cloud that's going to be on air with their Steamwave Saturday today. Thank you all for joining in the discussion on the Discord if you're hanging out. And we'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Meadows and Makers podcast with a new guest. So thanks again, and we'll catch you guys next week. So have a great one. All right, brother. Thanks so much for being on the show with me today, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll be keeping in touch.
Yeah, man. Are we still broadcasting to everybody else?
No, we just got cut off of the live, I think. So, yep, we're all done, and thanks again for your time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's such a good time. Like, I love talking about my life, and I love just sharing stuff out there. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you. One new aspect that we're having to learn is just leaning up against the wall, against just not tough questions, but really just like, really, you know what I mean?
Right, so, man, yeah.
It's just like,